Inside the Sandero Stepway, you are, in all intents and purposes, sat in a standard Dacia. It's exactly like sitting behind the wheel of the normal Sandero and sitting behind the wheel of the Logan, and there's nothing wrong with that. Dacia's interiors are plain and simple and durable. There's nothing fancy, but this is the top one at just over £11,500. What Dacia give you is a car that performs and a car that functions. There's no frills, you don't need frills. You've got a clear 3-clock instrumentation, the one on the right, a very, very basic onboard computer readout. Round the side of the wheel you can control the radio, etc. There is a sat-nav built into this, more of that later, but it isn't the most capable sat-nav you'll ever come across, but it will get you somewhere near to where you're going. Also with the Stepway you get this unique Stepway all embroidered interior. 5-speed gearbox, little bit notchy, but once again something you can happily live with, especially for the money. One thing I must comment on, if you're anything like me who, even when it's raining, lights the window down just a touch to get some fresh air in, though it does have air conditioning, all operated by these lovely chunky, easy to read, easy to use buttons. Water seems to make its way through the gap with so much enthusiasm, I'm actually considering keeping goldfish in the door pocket, because that's where it all ends up. Apart from that, it's nice and roomy, it's nice and spacious, and it is comfortable. First get in these you think the seats are maybe a little bit hard, but I have a 365-mile round trip to do in this car, and I have little doubt that it will prove nice and comfortable and more than efficient and up to the job. The Romanians need cars that do what they're meant to do with no frills and at a decent price, and Dacia Sandero Stepway does that, but throws in an extra degree of practicality and some more interesting looks. Here we are around the sunny environs of sunny Birmingham, behind the wheel of the Sandero Stepway. First thing you notice is there is quite a lot of cabin noise on anything but smooth surfaces, but as always put the radio on loud enough and you tend not to notice it. Right, out of the two engine options, beneath the bonnet of this one is the 1.5 litre Renault derived 4-cylinder diesel. Puts out 90 brake horse, 162 feet-pounds of torque, gives you a 0 to 60 of round about 11.8 seconds, so call it 12 seconds for ease of reckoning, 104 mile an hour top speed. Dacia claims 70.6 miles per gallon. Currently we're cruising at 62 miles per gallon, which, given this is a new car, low mileage, is more than acceptable. It's still frugal on its petrol. The one thing you do notice with the Stepway, due to the fact it's an increased ride height, it does wallow on bends quite a bit. There is very noticeable body roll. It does have an urge to understeer, and the steering, power steering, nicely weighted. The one thing you do notice as you're going around tightish corners, you will need to dial a little bit of extra lock on. You will need to add some more steering, especially on roundabouts, coming into roundabouts, exiting roundabouts. You turn the wheel and then you need to turn a little bit more. But providing you drive the car sensibly, this isn't a performance car. It was never conceived as a performance car, so drive it as what it is. It's a very, very capable, what I would call medium-sized small car. I know that's a contradiction in terms, but it's not a super mini, but it's not a big car. It's an ersatz SUV. It looks like an SUV, but it is still only a 2x4. The ride height means that it copes with narrow lanes, rough lanes and a few rough tracks very, very easily. By the way, apologies for Ethel, she's decided that she's going to tell us where we're going, which is something of a result by virtue of the fact the sat-nav isn't what you'd call absolutely top-notch. Equally, the whistling you can hear constantly tells you about the speed limits, doesn't flag them up on the screen. There is just this ear-splitting, almost interrogation quality whistle and howl that emits
Turn
from
right
the
at the
system.
roundabout, taking the 4th exit.
The other thing, she doesn't bother telling you what road number you want. You just get told turn left, turn right, straight on. Heading down to the Cotswolds yesterday, it told me it knew where it was going. As it was, it didn't. And it deposited me 7 miles from my destination. So we use the good old-fashioned method. They're called road signs. Apart from that, it's a pleasant enough car to drive. Does what it does what it's meant to do. It's plain and simple inside, but what more do you want?
After 1/4 mile, enter the roundabout and take the 2nd exit.
So we're now going to take the 2nd exit. Are we all clear on that? Good, I'm pleased and delighted. So, Dacia Stepway, Sandero Stepway, it puts...
Enter the roundabout, take the 2nd exit.
It puts you behind the wheel of a new car for what you would call second-hand car prices. It does what it does. It's comfortable. It's far more comfortable than you give it credit for. The first time you sit in here, you think, well, this really isn't long-distance material. But it's actually very comfortable over distance. It's easy to drive. It's undemanding to drive, providing you remember that on corners, especially if you're sending on a little bit, it will require you to input a little bit of corrective steering. The pedals are reasonably well weighted, 5-speed gearbox, little bit notchy at times, but you can more than live with it. So, for what you're paying for a Sandero Stepway, you're getting everything you want, everything you expect, and probably a little bit more besides. It's classed by Dacia and its parent company Renault as a Super Mini. I wouldn't class it as a Super Mini. What I would say is it is a large, small hatchback. 4 big doors, which mean ingress and getting back out are nice and easy. Typical of Dacia. The door handles, they've made them better. They're still flimsy, but they are better than they used to be. The car's a nice shape. You can tell the Renault influence, especially at the back. The interesting thing is the tailgate. You can either release it from the lever down by the driver's seat, or it's the good old-fashioned key. But since most people will forget the lever, it's the good old-fashioned key. Inside, it's a decent sized luggage area, even with the seats up. And congratulations Dacia, you've got a proper full-size spare wheel beneath the cargo bed floor. If there is a downside, the increase in the ride height has made the lip at which you have to lift your luggage in and over is even higher up. For most people it doesn't cause a problem, but there are certain people out there who find this big lift from the ground into the back is something of a strain. So you've always got to bear in mind that if you are the sort that doesn't like lifting shopping and luggage high up and in. But apart from that, it's nice and spacious, plenty of room in the back. Drop the back seats, it becomes even more spacious. It becomes a very, very practical little 2-seater estate car on the odd occasions you might need it. But always remember, release the hatch at the driver's seat or you'll need the key. Right, so now we've completed over 370 miles round trip. I'm here to report that the Sandero Stepway hasn't surprised, it really has impressed. It used less than half a tank. It gave me 68.3 to the gallon. Okay, that's just short of 2 miles per gallon, less than Dacia say you will get. But as we all know, factory figures were written by the Brothers Grimm. Most factory figures are completely unattainable. It's incredibly comfortable to do a long distance in. And this little 1.5 Renault engine, incredibly enthusiastic, And whilst at times it might get a little bit noisy in the cabin, it is extremely efficient. The car is an absolute pleasure to drive on the motorway. It's comfortable, it's easy to drive, it's undemanding. It really is an efficient and pleasant little car to drive around in. So when somebody starts to turn around and say, Dacia Sandero, what are those? You can turn around and say, it's the car I've just bought, and one of the best, most economical, efficient little motors I'm likely to own. So from me, Mike Stone and Ken the Cam here at Motoring Northwest, it's goodbye till next time. Keep it shiny side up, and when you see a Stepway, you now know that they aren't the joke that many people seem to think they are. They're a great little motor at a great price.